You ever notice how people chase happiness like it's a prize hidden at the end of some cosmic scavenger hunt? One day, they say. One day when they have more money, when they look a certain way, when someone finally chooses them, when life magically arranges itself like a neat little puzzle. Oh, they wait and wait and wait, as if joy is some grand event, instead of a spark sitting right under their nose. They look for fireworks, while ignoring the matchstick in their hand. They're convinced happiness arrives with applause and spotlight, when really it shows up quietly, disguised as peace. Clarity, a heartbeat realizing it's still alive. Ah, happiness. Such a charming little word, isn't it? Almost innocent. Almost childish. People carry it around like a balloon on a string, praying the wind doesn't get too rough, praying no one pops it with a little reality. I'll be happy when. That's the anthem. When the job comes, when the person arrives, when money magically rains down from the heavens, when life finally behaves the way they think it should. They wait for the world to bow, as if life is some obedient pet trained to deliver joy on command. And the funniest part, they call themselves realistic. Realistic, please. Waiting for happiness like it's a delivery package. That's the most delusional thing of all. You want to know the truth. The second things don't go their way, they fold. The tiniest inconvenience and poof, happiness vanishes like smoke from a candle blown out too fast. That's because they never owned it. They rented it from circumstances. They borrowed it from approval, opinions, attention. A compliment lands. They smile. An insult arrives. They crumble. That's not happiness. That's dependency disguised as hope. They're puppets to reactions, strings tied to every outside voice. And they wonder why they feel dizzy, pulled in every direction except forward. But imagine this instead, you, standing still in the middle of chaos, smiling not because the world is kind, but because you decided to. You chose yourself. Your peace, your worth. No applause, no cheering crowd, no confetti raining from the sky. Just you whispering, I don't need your switch to turn on my light. That, my dear listener, is where happiness truly begins. When it isn't borrowed. When it isn't conditional. When it doesn't tremble at the thought of disapproval. When you don't sit around waiting for someone to knock on your door and hand it to you, like a gift bag at the end of a show. People love to believe their joy is held hostage by events. I'd be happy if they didn't leave, if they respected me, if they chose me. Oh, tragic poetry. As if your spirit's freedom depends on who stays or who claps. You think kings wait for peasants to approve the crown on their head. Yet here you are, royalty in potential, begging for validation, like scraps tossed from the table. Funny how people demand life to treat them better, while they treat their own spirit like an afterthought. They hunt love as if it's oxygen. They chase success as if existence depends on applause. But true strength begins the moment you stop asking the world to smile first. The moment you stop waiting for permission. Something inside clicks. A strange calm. A dangerous one. The kind that terrifies those who once controlled your emotions. Suddenly, You don't flinch at silence. You don't panic when nobody texts. You don't shake when someone disapproves. You realize happiness was never hiding. It was simply locked behind fear. Fear of judgment. Fear of rejection. Fear of daring to believe you were enough. And once you pick that lock, oh, everything changes. Happiness isn't some trembling candle anymore. It becomes a flame that refuses to go out, even in a storm. That's the beauty of choosing yourself. You stop trying to be understood by everyone. You stop performing for applause. You stop shrinking to fit into places your soul has outgrown. Happiness becomes an inside job, a permanent resident instead of a visitor. You don't chase moments. You create them. You don't hope someone arrives to rescue you. You become your own escape route. And the world, it doesn't suddenly get nicer. No, but it loses its power to control your pulse. Real happiness is rebellion. It's you looking at life, smirking, and saying, "You don't own me." It's not loud or dramatic. It's quiet, steady, unbothered. The kind that turns heads not because you're shouting, but because you're glowing. And everyone who once doubted you, they'll squint confused, wondering how you did it, wondering who gave you that confidence. They'll never understand the secret. No one gave it to you. You took it. Messages. Little digital whispers lighting up screens like fireflies in the dark. People cling to them as if salvation comes wrapped in pixels. They stare, they wait, they pray for that buzz, that ding, that glowing bubble telling them someone out there is thinking about them, validating them, remembering they exist. Funny, isn't it? Humans used to chase stars for answers. Now they chase vibrations in their pocket. And every time it lights up, their heart jumps like a puppet on a string. Oh, the thrill. But what about the silence? What about the hours when no notification arrives? Suddenly they question their worth, their importance, their place in someone's world. As if meaning disappears when the screen goes dark. There's a tragedy hiding here. Not the absence of messages, but the absence of self. Because somewhere along the way, they trained their emotions to respond to alerts instead of truth. They forgot how to hear their own voice. They replaced intuition with inbox anxiety. Their identity tied to how often someone remembers to tap a screen. Isn't that deliciously ironic? A universe inside them, yet they panic over a blinking dot outside of them. They call it connection, I call it captivity. Imagine for a moment, the most life-altering message you could ever receive is not typed, not delivered, not sent from another human being. It rises quietly from inside you. No ringtone, no vibration, no flashing banner. Just a whisper in your chest that says, "Wake up." A pulse beat louder than a notification chime. A sudden clarity that no one gave you, because it was already yours. People spend years chasing guidance from others, but ignore the voice that actually knows them, with all their wounds, hopes, madness, brilliance. They silence it because it isn't dramatic enough. No applause, no emojis, no scene indicators. And yet, that tiny voice has started revolutions inside souls long before phones existed. You think confidence comes from compliments. No. It comes from that deep internal reminder, I am more than they think. You think purpose appears in a chat bubble. No. It rises when you dare to feel that restless spark in your belly telling you you're meant for more. You think love comes only when someone texts back. No. It starts when you treat yourself like someone worth choosing. But most are terrified to hear themselves. Why? Because the inner message doesn't flatter, it challenges. It demands responsibility. It tells you to stop waiting and start acting. It urges growth, discomfort, transformation. It doesn't pat you on the back. It pushes you forward. People idolize outside voices because they're easier to blame. If someone doesn't text, they sulk. If someone does, they float. Life becomes reaction instead of creation. So powerless, so fragile. But when the voice within becomes the loudest one, that's when everything shifts. You stop checking your phone like a starving soul begging for crumbs. You move differently. You trust yourself. You walk with that quiet certainty that confuses everyone around you. They'll wonder who hyped you up, who gave you permission to rise, who whispered confidence into your bones, and the truth. No one. You did. The inner message is raw, sometimes unsettling. It might say, leave, begin, stand up, stop pretending. This is not your final chapter, or the most dangerous message of all. You deserve better. That one breaks cages. That one rewrites destinies. But you only hear it when you stop drowning in noise and start listening to your own pulse. And when you finally hear it, when you accept it, when you believe it, you become untouchable. External silence stops bothering you. External applause stops manipulating you. You walk like someone who answers to a higher frequency. Your own. The world can ignore you. Phones can stay still. Notifications can remain quiet as a graveyard at midnight. And yet you won't feel abandoned. Because you no longer wait to be chosen by someone else. You choose yourself again and again. And that, my friend, is the most powerful message you will ever receive. Not through a screen. Not from a voice trying to lure your emotions. But from the very place everyone else fears to look the quiet, burning truth inside your own soul. They always say, when someone finally chooses me, then I'll shine. Cute, isn't it? People sitting around like unopened gifts, waiting for somebody else to decide their worth unwrapping. As if the world hands out significance like candy, as if some grand judge will step up, tap them on the head and say, you. Yes, you. Now you're allowed to feel valuable. So they keep waiting for love to validate them, for success to announce them, for applause to convince them they matter. Oh, what a fragile little way to live. Like glass dressed as confidence, ready to shatter at the slightest inconvenience. Choosing yourself, now, that is the real madness. Not the loud kind, but the dangerous kind. The kind that doesn't ask for permission. The kind that doesn't tremble at rejection or crave approval like oxygen. The kind that wakes up, looks in the mirror, and says, I belong here even if you don't clap. But most people don't dare to taste that power. They'd rather starve than feed themselves with their own worth. They wait for someone to bring them a plate of validation, instead of realizing they could cook their own feast. They think someone else must sign their permission slip to become extraordinary. But choosing yourself, oh, it changes things. It stops being a fairy tale and becomes a declaration, a quiet rebellion. Like stepping into a room full of doubters and breathing anyway. Like building dreams without asking if they look realistic enough. Like being the only believer in a world trained to doubt. When you choose yourself, you stop auditioning. You stop shrinking to fit small expectations. You stop pretending humility means hiding your fire. You don't hide anymore. You rise. And yes, it feels strange at first, almost uncomfortable, like wearing clothes that feel too bold, too loud, too. Who do you think you are? But you keep wearing them. Eventually, the discomfort becomes your second skin. Confidence stops feeling like a costume and starts feeling like your natural state. You don't need someone to clap before you move. You don't wait for recognition to begin. You don't need a spotlight to feel seen. You become your own validation machine, manufacturing belief in yourself in a world that thrives on doubt. Of course, some won't like it. People feel threatened when someone refuses to bow to insecurity. They'll whisper that you changed, that you're arrogant, that you think too highly of yourself. They'll say confidence is dangerous, and they're right. It is. Dangerous to their comfort, their expectations, their delicate little belief that everyone should live quiet and small. They want you predictable. They want you waiting. Because the moment you choose yourself, you become unpredictable, uncontrollable. You stop being ruled by scarcity and start breathing possibility. And that frightens those who built prisons for their own potential. But let them talk. Let them choke on their doubt while you inhale your becoming. Because every great transformation begins with a person who refused to wait for someone else's approval. Every legend starts with someone who whispered, "I choose me," even when the world offered silence. This isn't arrogance. Arrogance is needing others to see your worth. True confidence is knowing it even when nobody does. And here's the twist. Once you choose yourself, the world begins to shift. Doors appear where walls once stood. Opportunities crawl toward you like moths to flame. People who never noticed you before suddenly squint, shocked by the glow. But by then, it's not about them anymore. Their attention is just background noise. A bonus, not the goal. Because you already found the treasure they couldn't give you. Your own approval. No crown is heavier than the one you place on your own head. No throne is stronger than the one you build for yourself. And no force is more terrifying or more liberating than realizing you never needed anyone else to choose you before you stepped into your power. You were always the one. The key was always in your hands. The invitation was always waiting for your signature. You just had to stop waiting for someone else to hand you the pen. The one nobody likes to hear. Pain isn't punishment, it's preparation. Funny, isn't it? How everyone wants the glory without the scars, the victory without the bruises, the blessing without the breaking. They scream, life isn't fair. But what they really mean is, I want comfort without growth. And growth, my friend, is a cruel artist. It sculpts you with blades, not feathers. It doesn't care if you cry or beg or curse the sky, because you don't evolve when life is gentle. No, no, no. You transform when life throws you to the floor and whispers, "Let's see what you're made of." Fave, you ever noticed how people love to talk about destiny? Like it's a beautifully wrapped gift waiting at their doorstep. But destiny isn't wrapped in silk. It's wrapped in struggle, exhaustion, confusion, doubt. You don't receive destiny. You survive it. You crawl toward it with bleeding hands. You don't get chosen for greatness until life first chooses to break you apart, piece by agonizing piece. And while you're lying there shattered, everyone thinks it's punishment, but it's actually divine training. You see, wounds are not proof of weakness. They're proof of participation. You can't win a war without a scar. You can't carry purpose with soft hands. Every champion was a soldier long before they were a king. Every blessing first demands blood, sweat, and a little bit of madness. You know who gives up? The ones who mistake discomfort for rejection. The moment life tightens the pressure, they run. Not realizing pressure is the handshake of potential. Diamonds aren't born from comfort. They're born from being crushed. Seeds don't bloom in sunshine alone. They break open underground in darkness. Funny, isn't it? How we admire flowers, but forget the soil they died in first. And you, yes you, sitting there thinking life is unfair. Maybe it's not unfair. Maybe it's building something inside you that comfort never could. Maybe everything you call failure is really foundation. Maybe every painful chapter is carving out space for the blessing you asked for. And the universe has a wicked sense of humor because it gives you the opposite first. You pray for strength, you get struggle. You pray for courage, you get fear. You pray for growth, you get discomfort. The answer arrives disguised as a challenge. And most people reject it before it can work its magic. Let them laugh at you. Let them doubt you. Let them say you've lost it, that you're crazy for believing there's purpose in pain. Because people love comfort more than they love transformation. They crave safety more than greatness. They worship easy more than meaningful. But not you. You're not here to be ordinary. Ordinary breaks at pressure. Extraordinary becomes pressure. Ordinary complains about the storm. Extraordinary becomes the storm. Pain is shaping you into someone unshakable, someone untouchable by fear, someone the world will one day call unstoppable, but they won't know what it cost. They never do. They see the glow, not the fire that forged it. They see the crown, not the battle that earned it. They see the smile, not the nights you screamed into pillows. They see the elevation, not the isolation. They admire the strength, but they never recognize the suffering that stitched it into your bones. And oh, the beautiful irony. One day, the same people who questioned you will ask how you did it. And you'll smirk, because how do you explain to someone who quit at discomfort that you grew through torture? How do you tell someone who wants shortcuts that you walked through hell barefoot? Pain isn't punishment. It's the price of greatness. It's the training ground of destiny. You aren't being hurt. You're being hardened. You aren't being abandoned. You're being prepared. Life isn't breaking you, it's sharpening you. So when destiny finally knocks, you won't be fragile. You'll be fire. And fire doesn't fear anything, not even the ones who tried to extinguish it. Your isolation is not a curse, it's construction. Alone, such a dramatic little word, isn't it? People fear it more than failure, more than rejection, more than truth. They cling to noise like children cling to blankets, terrified of silence because silence forces them to meet themselves. Oh, how funny humans are, always surrounded, yet always empty, always talking, yet never understanding, chasing crowds, validation, applause, as if purpose is handed out by committee. But the greatest things in this world, they are born in silence, in solitude, in those lonely hours where the world forgets you exist and all you have left is your breath, your doubt, your stubborn little heartbeat refusing to quit. Have you noticed how everyone disappears when you start changing? When you stop entertaining nonsense, when you stop begging for attention, when you stop needing permission. Suddenly they call you distant, arrogant. You've changed. And yes, you have. Because isolation is where people go when they are no longer willing to be who they were. It's where the old version of you goes to die, so the stronger one can claw its way out. Funny how people love your potential until it actually threatens to show up. They loved the you that stayed small, predictable, available. But the moment you start rising, they vanish like smoke and call it your fault. But maybe they aren't leaving you. Maybe you are simply outgrowing them. Maybe growth requires a little loneliness. Maybe silence is where destiny whispers. You think kings were crowned in crowds. You think prophets found purpose at parties. No, they were forged in deserts, prisons, caves, heartbreak. History doesn't honor those who blended in. It worships those who walked alone long enough to become someone worth following. Solitude is not punishment. It's a sacred appointment. A private meeting between you and your future. You think you're being forgotten, abandoned, ignored. But really, you're being carved out, refined, separated not for shame, but for shaping. Because the path to greatness is too narrow for company. Not everyone can go where you're going. Not everyone deserves access to the person you're becoming. And life is quiet when it prepares you. Painfully quiet. Uncomfortably quiet, they say. Don't isolate yourself. It's unhealthy. But what they really mean is, don't grow faster than me. Society fears the lone wolf because the lone wolf stops waiting for permission. Isolation is your evolution chamber, where you learn who you are without applause, where you sharpen your thoughts, confront your demons, clean out the voices that lied to you your entire life, where you discover the terrifying, liberating truth. You don't need saving. You need discipline. You need silence. You need time alone with your hunger, your dream, your madness, and a little bit of divine whisper saying, keep going. The world isn't ready for you yet. And oh, here's the delicious twist. When you're alone, you learn what others never will. People don't validate destiny, God does. People don't decide when you rise. Purpose does. No audience means no influence over your formation. No noise means no distraction from your direction. Alone, you become dangerous because you stop living for approval and start living for truth. You stop performing and start transforming. You stop fearing being misunderstood and start embracing being unbothered. The world calls it isolation, but you will look back one day and call it preparation. You will smile remembering the nights you thought you were abandoned, not realizing you were being upgraded. You will laugh at how desperately you wanted company, not knowing that solitude was sculpting an unbreakable, undeniable version of you. They won't understand you now. They're not supposed to. You don't fit where you used to fit. You don't crave what you used to crave. You don't break where you used to break. This silence is not empty. It is full of becoming. This loneliness is not loss. It is leveling up. One day they will say, "You changed," and you will simply think, "No, I finally met myself." And I didn't need a crowd to introduce me to who I was meant to be when things fall apart. They are secretly falling into place. Funny, isn't it? How life loves to play this little trick, breaking you right before it builds you, tearing down every little comfort you cling to, flipping your world upside down like it's shaking dust off an old rug. And you panic, of course, because humans hate losing control. You scream, "Why me?" As if the universe owes you convenience, as if growth should feel like a gentle massage, and not like your chest being ripped open, so your old dreams can die and your real destiny can breathe. Oh, the comedy of it all. You see, destruction is never random. Collapse is never accidental. Sometimes the very thing you're crying about losing is what was suffocating you. The job that drained your soul, the relationship that clipped your wings, the comfort that kept you small. But you held onto it like a child, clutching a broken toy, swearing life wouldn't be worth living without it, until life said no. Until life snatched it away and whispered, "Trust me." You don't realize how heavy that thing was until it's gone. And oh, how you resist. How you fight to tape back together what was never aligned in the first place. It's tragic and hilarious watching people try to resurrect things that died for a reason. Have you ever noticed how you never grow when everything is fine? Comfort is a silent poison. It hugs you, strokes your ego, and slowly kills your ambition. So life shakes you awake, violently. Blessings rarely arrive wearing halos. They show up disguised as chaos. Heartbreak, failure, betrayal, loss. These aren't punishments. They're invitations. Invitations to evolve, to stand taller, to see clearer. But people love their illusions. They mourn endings, as if endings aren't the birthplace of beginnings. They throw tantrums when doors close, never realizing closed doors are simply divine redirection. What if instead of screaming, "Why is this happening?" you whispered, "Show me what this is becoming." Patterns break before people do. Identities crumble before destiny rises. You don't get a new life if you refuse to let the old one die. The universe doesn't bulldoze your comfort zone to hurt you. It does it to rescue you. You think you're being punished, but you're being prepared. You think you're losing everything, but you're losing only what couldn't walk with you into your future. The pieces of your life scatter, not to torment you, but to form a new picture, a better one, a terrifyingly powerful one. And yes, it hurts. Of course it hurts. Rebirth always comes with blood. Transformation always demands sacrifice. Growth feels like dying, because part of you is, listen closely. The most beautiful chapters of your story will begin with the words, "I thought it was over." You don't become unshakable by staying intact. You become unshakable by learning that even shattered bones grow back stronger. Pain teaches you what pride never could. Loss reveals who was real and who was decoration. And failure. Failure is the most misunderstood hero of them all. It drags you into the abyss only to hand you the tools you'll need to climb the mountain later. The mess is not the enemy. Chaos is not the villain. Sometimes the world has to collapse so your true self can crawl out from under the ruins, blinking, furious, unstoppable. And isn't it amusing how people disappear when your life breaks, only to reappear when it starts shining again? They think they abandoned you at your lowest, but really, they freed you. They made space for the ones who will clap when you bleed, not just when you win. Life knows who belongs in your next chapter. Trust that exits are as important as entrances. Trust that the silence after destruction is sacred. It's the universe rewiring your path, repositioning your blessings, rearranging your destiny in ways your fragile expectations could never imagine. Broken plans make room for bigger promises. Shattered paths reveal unseen roads. What a delightful little twist, so laugh. Yes, laugh. Not because life is easy, but because life is playing chess while you're sobbing over checkers. Laugh because you survived collapse. Because pain didn't kill you, it carved you. Laugh because destruction wasn't your ending. It was your invitation to become far more dangerous, far more wise, far more alive than you ever were when everything was perfect. Everything falling apart. Oh no, it was falling into place all along.